And hey now, welcome everybody, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, to our frequent edition here of On Deck on the once again lovely Saturday afternoon here, live in the studios at Chicagoland Sports Radio of the campus of the Illinois Media School. We are going right now as we got a lot of stuff to get into in today's showdown as we take a look right now. And more particularly, we're going to start off quite frequently. It is the booming popularity right now about this time as any sports fan. NBA playoffs for the first half hour as we're beginning into right now. We'll start off with a little bit of news. As I've been mentioning on the last couple of months of shows, following the Lakers and what they've been doing with their ongoing saga with the front office and trying to get a superstar player to pair with LeBron James seems can still continue to be a mess. It almost seems like an old relationship boyfriend-girlfriend type who seems to be getting involved in the family picture of that business. You'll hear our thoughts a little bit later on in that. Also, too, right now, is it fair to say it's almost sweeping success for both the East and Western Conference as we are in the Final Four right now? Both teams up right now, 2-0. I'm talking about none other than the Milwaukee Bucks and the Golden State Warriors right now. And we'll get into a little bit later on. Should the Warriors consider shutting down Kevin Durant for the remainder of this conference finals? Yes, he's had that right calf injury from Game 5 of the Houston series. They went out late in the third quarter. But right now, it ships to Games 3 and 4. Right now, team president Rick Welts has said that KD will not trail with the team, but he may be willing to come off the bench if needed, if they're in some trouble. I suggest shutting him down. Find out a little bit more and see if Pauly C disagrees with me on that later on. Also, too, we got the NHL playoffs right now. Boston Bruins, they are in right now. They're looking to try and capture their 7th Stanley Cup, which will separate them from the Chicago Blackhawks, who they are tied up with 6 right now. And their last 6 finals appearances, they have been 1-5. And they've been probably one of the hot teams in the East. Find out if they'll be able to finish it off. Plus, also Joel Thornton, who's still looking for his first Stanley Cup. Would it be fitting if he goes up against his former squad that drafted him in the Bruins 22 years ago? Or will the St. Louis Blues get back to the Cup Finals for the first time since 1970? And speaking of which, ironically, maybe the last team they lost to in the Cup Finals when they made it for their first 3 years in existence as a franchise against the Boston Bruins. Here are our thoughts. Then we'll close out with a new segment I got introduced on here, Fair or Foul. A couple of touching subjects in here. So right now, if you want, feel free to dial on the studio line. We got 2 numbers you can reach over here. The main studio line, which is 773-966-2494. Again, that's 773-966-2494. You can also hit me up directly. That's 312-209-2232. Again, that's 312-209-2232. I can be followed on Twitter at Prodigy Richey. Of course, you know it's my man, the K-Man, the Mike. It's me, Pauly C. As he can be followed on Twitter, it's me, Pauly C. 47. He is the host of the returning, once again, popular show of the Fans Court here every Tuesdays from 3 to 5 p.m. He's also a co-host on the Rising Feminist. Make sure to tune into them. Check out their great continuity content every Fridays from 12 to 2 p.m. with Stephanie Delgado and their other co-hosts right there. So make sure to check them out. And Paul, what an interesting time it has been right now as we are at this point in the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, well, thank you first off for the lovely plugs for all the other shows I'm on and CSR. And this playoffs, it's been an entertaining playoffs. I think we've had a lot of great moments, and I think you're seeing what a lot of people thought was going to happen, which are the 2 truly best teams in the NBA right now, and just storming their way to a seemingly NBA Finals match. You're talking about the Milwaukee Bucks and the Golden State Warriors. I think when the playoffs started, a lot of people, including myself, had these 2 teams not only in the conference finals, but possibly in the NBA Finals. Now it's still early. They are both have a 2-0 series lead, but anything can happen. But right now, I still like the Warriors and the Bucks to finish out the series. And I know we haven't talked in a while, but I had Bucks in 7 and Warriors in 5. So I still stick to that. I do think Toronto's a lot better than what they've shown, but we'll see.
Again, once again, if you want, feel free to tweet us. I could be followed at Prodigy. Richie can follow him. It's me, Pauly C 47. I'm with you. I really felt like the Raptors would give them a little bit better run starting off right now. Of course, it's only the first 2 games. It's going to be shifting back to Toronto right now as we stand. But I think one thing, too, that was an interesting point, too. Stephen A. Smith even alludes to this many a times, that for, like, the Raptors, the Milwaukee Bucks just have too much firepower for them, as you can see. I mean, they just been raining a barrage of threes, if you noticed, last night. Lost by over 20 points.
Yeah.
And just seemed like this is a team right now. They're realizing they got the home court advantage throughout the playoffs. They're only 2 games away from getting to their first NBA Finals, believe it or not, in over 48 years. And guess what? At that time, too, it was also...
Wasn't that Kareem? Wasn't that Kareem on the team?
Yes, but technically, don't forget, though, too, his name was...
Lou Alcindor.
Lou Alcindor, there you go, correct. And it was one of his 2 NBA Final MVPs. That year, I believe they defeated the Capitol Bullets in that finals right there.
Oh, wow, nice, good memory there.
So, thank you very much. But, yeah, I think the Milwaukee Bucks at this time, they're smelling it. It is Bucktown right now in Milwaukee.
Yeah, how can you not be excited?
No, and they definitely deserve to be a part of this. And they definitely waited a long time for a franchise. And you don't really talk much success all the time when you look at the history of them, other than what I just mentioned a moment ago. And they did that when they won their championship. That was their 5th year of existence right there. And as a matter of fact, let's just take a look back at the timeline. Of course, so they did in the NBA playoffs. And let's see. As we look at it, it was the Baltimore Bullets, excuse me, not the Capitol Bullets.
Oh,
they swept them in that series in 4 games.
Wow. But it's I'm with you, Charlie. They've overwhelmed them with great offense. And I think it's what a lot of people kind of forget about Milwaukee. It's not just Giannis there. It's not just the Greek freak there who's leading the way. You got Chris Middleton, who's great. Yeah. Nikolai Mirotic, who's former Bull player. Nikola.
There you go. I was gonna say that. I was. You know what? Funny thing was, before I was just minutes away from getting to the studio, I was thinking, if he's one of the heroes, I wonder how much you're gonna hear in the background.
Oh yeah, you're gonna hear that a lot.
And I can believe that. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, they got a lot better. I've said for a little bit now. I think they're a little bit underrated. Throughout the playoffs, I think that people counting them out when they got down with Boston early. I don't know if we talked about our finals predictions. I have the Bucks actually winning the NBA Finals, against the Warriors. So I think, and they haven't disappointed me yet. I think they're going to continue to. And you said it, Charlie. The home court advantage. Excuse me, rather. That will definitely play. You just got to win your home games. Win your home games, you're in the NBA Finals, and you win the championship. So I definitely like the Bucks to this point. And the Warriors, they just look like they're just going to overwhelm Portland. I agree with you. I do think you shut down KD, you save them until it's absolutely necessary.
I think, in my opinion, personally, after what they did to the Houston Rockets about a week ago, the Rockets, I'm still kind of extremely disappointed. Vividly, it's absolutely. Like you look at it this way: you had Kevin Durant leave early in Game 5, not early, but late in the game, and the third quarter. Then plus one of your foul troubles too alone, Kevin Durant. Draymond Green gets fouled out. I believe when they lost that Game 5, they pretty much lost the series right there, and they backed themselves into a corner. Could not figure a way to get it done. So again, right now we're getting ready to hit up.
Well said.
Yep. And right now, thank you very much, Paul. And we're getting ready to hit this very first commercial break here of On Deck on CSR. But when we get back, we'll get into a little bit more of the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. We will dive a little bit more into the West. We just kicked off with the East. And right now, fair or foul, does this hurt Kawhi Leonard's stock value right now if he looks going free agency? Listen on deck. Me, Charles Prodigy, Richey, and Pauly C, only on CSR. Only a few more minutes, my man.
So you coming back in this next segment, or are you going to be in the hall? If you want to stay in here and you hear,
Oh, man.
I can put a note on the door. I'm going to say in CSR studio. So if someone can come here and wave, and I
Could you stick? Oh no, you can't do that. No, I was gonna say stick something on the door, but then again, let's say some crazy person come, or looking like a technical breach.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm just gonna put a note on the door. I'll sit on for this whole last segment, and I'll do the update for you.
Okay.
Sit in this last segment. I'll do the update for you.
Okay, that's good enough, man. Thanks, Paul. Hey everybody, what's up? We're on commercial break right now. We're on deck. Right now, we are currently getting into NBA Conference Finals preview right now. We just kicked off with the Western Conference between the Warriors and the Trailblazers right now at this point in time. Or no, actually the Bucks and the Raptors, excuse me. Now we're going to be transitioning focus over to the Warriors and Trailblazers at this point in time. So our thoughts right now, is it a sweeping success? Or do you think one of these teams right now will manage to squeeze a game or two out? I'm probably thinking more realistically the Raptors. I'm not sure they're going to get swept necessarily. Kawhi Leonard's definitely been a little bit of a question mark as well as KD's stats coming back for the team, I say shut him down for the conference fouls, save him for the fouls. More than likely, they're proving they could survive without him. You let us know. Again, the number is to be reached, 773-966-2494 is the main studio line. You can also dial in me directly, 312-209-2232. I'm sure you're acting on Instagram. We're fine. You're okay. This is horrible.
Their PSAs, they're
honestly, I'm really starting to think they've dumped too much on Joe, in my opinion.
You think?
No offense to you and I.
Yeah.
If that one was here, this would not be happening.
Shut
up. No, seriously. I like Joe, but come on. Mics are off, by the way.
Yeah. No, you're right. I
seriously,
agree with you.
This is so out of order. I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but looks embarrassing at times.
All right. Yeah.
And we are back here on deck on CSR right now. And thank you very much, Paul, for doing double duty here right now as he's keeping an eye on things on campus here, but also spending the time and company to share with us on this Saturday afternoon. Like I said, once again, you could catch him 3 times a week, including on my show. The 2 other times he is on his returning show once again on the Fans Corner. You can catch every Tuesdays from 3 to 5 p.m. Of course, he is on The Rising Feminist with Stephanie Delgado. And who's the other host again?
Alonzo Arce.
Make sure to check them out. Got a lot of great stuff coming on right now. Big wrestling, hardcore fan, actually talk about not only WWE, but Impact Wrestling, AEW, and all kinds of wrestling. Make sure to hit them up. They are a new booming show right now for such a while and been gaining some steam. I just want to applaud you guys. Keep up the momentum right now.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man. It's definitely think we're building something special right here at CSR, and grateful to have the home and the platform to do it. And yeah, hopefully it just keeps on going. And thanks to you for that lovely plug.
No problem, by the way. I think anytime right now, it's kind of like a little bit of a relief right now when you look at the wrestling industry. I think it's a relief right now. You're seeing some sort of competition to be like in the other side of town versus WWE. We'll get into the conference files in just a moment, but I just wanted to just let this off my chest for all people.
Sure.
Listen, I've always said it repeatedly. I kind of moved on from WWE and watched a few of the pay-per-views like a WrestleMania or SummerSlam, maybe a few highlights of Raw and SmackDown. But I will say, to be quite honest, that has been one of the biggest turnoffs. I mean, for like the last nearly 2 decades, when you really think about it, when your one competition gets eliminated due to like bankruptcy mainly. I mean, let's face facts, there are a lot of debt, and just Turner just did not want to keep wrestling under their watch. The ECW going for some finance issues as well. So you merge like most of their talents together in one company, just do the brand split for all these years. And to be honest, I'm actually getting a little bit sick of going like back and forth where you want to like do a Raw and a SmackDown show versus you could do like something from another company that could put you from the outside. And then it's like, NXT, which is doing some great things, got a lot of great wrestlers on the come up. But like I said, I think we even discussed many a times, you got so many investors on this thing, and just try and like sell like if it was like 2 separate different worlds, it doesn't work. I mean, then you just like remerge the belts or you go back into like separate brand splits. That starts to run out of gas, in my opinion, after a while. That'd be interesting to see how that works.
No, yeah.
AEW, I think it's going to be the real deal. We'll see.
Yeah, well said, Charlie, and you're absolutely right. And you're not the only one, too. That's why WWE is suffering record low ratings for the first time in many years. I mean, you're talking about just a tad around 2 million viewers and less now on a weekly basis. So, and you're not the only one who feels that way. That's why AEW is best. You know, it didn't just come out of nowhere. I mean, it came because there was a lot, we all feel like how you feel, where there's just an absence of something that, just an absence of something that just is not there anymore. And WWE has failed on many fronts to come up with a competent product. And you said it, they don't know what they want to do. They're overextended, they're overextended with themselves. There's they don't know what to do, and it's just they just keep tripping them over themselves. And now AEW will hopefully get kind of get them back on the right track, but we'll see. I mean, AEW says they're not trying to be competition, but I mean, easier said than done. But they're providing an alternative, that's for sure. So it's exciting, great to see TNT having wrestling again.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But I definitely feel like Eric Bischoff, he made a very fair point too. He was on a podcast. You could also catch on YouTube. He's been very frequently interactive, a lot with Conrad Thompson, who's been keeping about reliving the past and kind of like where the process is right now. And one of the things he did point out is they do have a lack of discipline when they are doing these brand splits. When you're going to be having the Fox deal come out, it's like you need to have like one guy legitimately set, because you're going to have like USA pretty much and Fox. Who are you going to delegate to this one channel to be like your guy and like focus around that versus crossing over? And then you could have SmackDown. If you're going to like continue doing this brand split, be disciplined enough to keep that talent over here and over there, where it makes it look like two companies. But at the end of the day, I think people see through that.
Oh yeah,
through some smoke blowing.
No, well said, Charlie. Absolutely, you hit the nail right on the head with that. It's either commit to one. You gotta commit to one or the other. Either you don't have a brand split and you have a decent amount of belts, or there's always your top belts, your mid card belts, or you stick with the brand split, and then that's it. These guys never trans. Now there was the superstar shakeup after WrestleMania. Now you have the you have the wild card rule, which is like 4 wrestlers from each brand can now go back and forth between shows every week. It's divulging the chaos, really. It is divulging the chaos, and this is the pressure from not just AEW, but from all the other more known brands like New Japan, Ring of Honor, Impact. It's not just AEW putting the pressure on WWE now. All these other, and even the indies are getting more love than I've ever seen. Growing up a wrestling fan, so it's not just AEW. It's they're getting attacked on all fronts, and they have to do something to because there's nothing much they can do. They can't get new stars. They're going to have to develop what they got. So very interesting to see where it goes from here.
And again, we mentioned too, like let's get back into it. I was mentioning before right into the break. Thank you very much. We're in the conference finals right now. We already just kicked off with the Bucks and the Raptors. I'm gonna say one game at this point, based off what I saw. In my opinion, when you look at it, and you're looking at overall like how it's been being broken down right now, as far as like the playoffs and everything going on. I mean, when you look at too, I mean, with this series in particular with Milwaukee, I mean, right now they have been beating them. I mean, if you really think about it, by plus 33.
Oh yeah.
And both their matchups
hasn't been close.
I mean, maybe the first game was close, where they had to work a little bit. They had to earn it just a little bit in that game. I mean, they were trailing for most of that game, but then again, they were able to come back late in there, and like I said, and no, it's actually plus 30, excuse me. But by the way, in that game, you just saw right there where, I mean, you saw guys like a Kawhi Leonard in that first game. He had 31 points. He definitely came through.
Yeah.
He was looking for Kyle Lowry to come through, who definitely did his part. He had 30 points in that game. And then, of course, you had Marc Gasol, who really, in my opinion, did not show up, had 6 points and hardly anything else, I mean, other than just rebounds. So he had a double-double in that game. And Siakam, who's got 15 points. But then you also look at, too, on the other end of the Milwaukee Bucks, I mean, Giannis Antetokounmpo, in that first game, he was definitely being good as advertised, coming in there with a double-double, plus 8 as far as, like, out of the starters. And then you also look at who else it could be. I mean, it's also you're looking at like Chris Middleton, who's a rebounding machine as well, getting some valuable boards coming off. And then overall too, I think one of the things that hurt him in that first game against I mean, just their bench. I mean, when you really think about it, I mean the Raptors. I mean, 22-10 in favor of the Bucks in that one.
Oh yeah, and a lot of people I don't think realize that besides that there's more to Milwaukee than just Giannis, but that Milwaukee was the best defensive team in the NBA this year, and invest in defensive rebounds. What does that mean? I mean, that's second chance points. I'd be curious to know how many second chance points they have. So that's another reason why I think you're seeing those dip in the numbers for some of the guys in Toronto. Milwaukee's the best defensive team right now. So
no doubt about it. And then we're also looking at the Golden State Warriors too, who also I think is doing a decent job in their own right, playing good defense. Draymond Green definitely shutting down some people right there. Steph Curry and Klay Splash Brothers still making the presence known, believe it or not, despite with or without the assistance of Kevin Durant. But right now we got to put on hold. We're going to take this bottom of the hour scoreboard update. Me, Charles Prodigy, Richey, and Pauly C. I'll check the door for you real quick.
At 1:30 p.m. on Pauly C with your ChicagolandSportsRadio.com update brought to you by the Illinois Media School. For more information on a career in broadcasting, go to beonair.com. In MLB news, the Cubbies were in action yesterday as they were taking on the Washington Nationals. They won by a final score of 14-6. Cole Hamels, got the win for the Northsiders. Max Scherzer took the loss for the Nats. And then Cubs' next game is later today against those same Nationals. John Lester is on the mound for the Northsiders, and Steven Strasburg is pitching for the Nationals. That game starts at 6:30 p.m. Central. Also, on the other side of town, the White Sox were also playing yesterday as they were squaring off against the Toronto Blue Jays. Unfortunately, White Sox lost by a final score of 10-2. Sam Gallego got the win for the Blue Jays. Ivan Nova took the loss for the Southsiders. And the White Sox next game is right now against those same Blue Jays. And it is 1-0 at the top of the second with a man on and 1 out. And Ryan Firebrand was pitching for the Blue Jays. Lucas Giolito is on the hill for the White Sox. And in NBA news, the Milwaukee Bucks beat the Toronto Raptors by a final score of 125-103. Giannis Antetokounmpo led his team with 30 points. And the Bucks now take a 2-0 lead in the Eastern Conference Finals. And tonight is Game 3 of the Western Conference Finals. The Golden State Warriors have a 2-0 lead in that series, and that game starts at 8 p.m. Central Time. This update has been brought to you by the Illinois Media School. For more information on a career in broadcasting, go to beonair.com. I'm the caveman, the Mike Pauly C, and you're listening to Chicagoland Sports Radio. It's not just sports, it's a way of life.
Hey, mics are off.
What's up?
No one's been coming in from Stone Show, just so you know.
Okay.
I just checked their
Appreciate it.
And welcome back, everybody. On deck here with me, Charles Prodigy, Richey, and big thank you again, Pauly C, for handling that sports update right now. As we are back right now, and just get ready to make some final thoughts on the Golden State Warriors. I think they're going to end up sweeping them, to be honest with you.
Really?
I don't see them getting a game right now. I think the Portland Trail Blazers are definitely playing a little bit banged up themselves when you think about things. I mean, Damian Lillard, he's been one of the questionable guys that's been hardly showing up in the series. I mean, when you really think about things, and when you really look at it too, I think right now the Golden State Warriors, I mean they're finding ways to handle business. I mean, the only really close game they gave him was in Game 2, and Seth Curry tried to distract his brother at the free throw line a little bit, trying to play a little bit head game. Nice to see that little storyline in there. Both family relatives, I believe their brothers in there, and just having a little bit of moment to share right here. But obviously, right now, there's been a lot of stats, not just about KD for the remainder of this series, about what about his future. And to be honest with you, it just almost seems like it's like if they win without him,
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much he's going off in free agency, and more than likely, according to Stephen A. Smith, to the New York Knicks. I mean, at this point in time.
Yeah, it depends. To answer your question, I think we kind of touched on it earlier. Do they shut him down?
I think you have to. I just
To
because
me, it depends. To me, it depends. If you think he's leaving, why would you shut him down? If he's leaving, I would get as much out of him as humanly possible. I mean, save him for the finals, but you work him until he's out of there, man.
I understand that, but here's the thing too. I know you're trying to work until you're out of him too, but I think also you gotta look at it right now too. It's like he's still being bothered by the fact that this isn't his own team. You hear a lot of people saying MVP chance was Steph Curry at the line, and of course you also gotta look at it too. If he decides to go somewhere else, why hurt and damage himself along the way? Keep his value built up a little bit. Of course, he still wants to win. He still wants to be a contributor. I am not saying that he does not want to show up. He will show up at some point in time. Maybe. But then again, how long is it going to affect them in the long term? All right, well, that's going to do it for this segment, the first half hour. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in on deck of NBA Fast Break. Now we're getting ready to hit this break.
I love it. Well, I mean, I'll stay in. I mean, no, like you said, no one's coming, so I'll just, and I got the.
I'm not saying that it can't change, but it's definitely looking.
I got the note on the door, so if someone really has to get in, I can run out.
Well, it doesn't look like they're coming because I'm seeing Devontae Stolen on this page.
Oh, really?
It looks like he's at a studio at Jams.
Oh, shit. Oh, nice. That'd be fucking sweet. If that's the case, then yeah. Oh, is he? Yeah.
Well, it says 6 minutes ago. It looks like it's work.
Yeah,
Where is that right now?
Devontae. Oh, yeah. Oh, that'd be huge if you went in.
Why you end up leaving later with him?
Yes.
Is it kind of feel like a situation where you're sharing a bunk bed, you're at the bottom of the bucket, you're feeling your butts and pillows all in your face?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, you're the only one asking for snow. You're right.
And we are back here on deck on CSR with me, Charles Prodigy, Richey and Pauly C. And make sure you can also check out the other fun and exciting content right here on Saturdays to close out every Saturday. Make sure to tune in to the D-Stone Pony Show that's usually here every Saturday from 4 or 5 p.m. Right now, as we are getting ready to wrap things up against, of course, once again, my man, Pauly C. You catch him on 3 times a week over here at the CSR studio, live from the Illinois Media School campus. He is with the Fans Corner. He hosts every Tuesday from 3 to 5 p.m. And you'll be hearing every now and then, you'll be hearing on there him and Mighty Mouse, Pat Quinn. And of course, he's also on the Rising Feminist every Friday from 12 to 2 p.m. with their kick butt host, Stephanie Delgado, talking all things wrestling. That includes WWE, new up-and-coming AEW, Impact Wrestling, of course, Ring of Honor, all that, and right there, make sure to check them out. They're a new booming show that just continues to pick up momentum and steam.
Appreciate it, my man. Thank you for the love and kind words.
No problem. And right now, we're back right now. As a matter of fact, we're in the East and Western Conference Finals right now. And I don't know if you got a chance to see like the trophy ceremony, of course, that the Boston Bruins already run. And of course, everybody's not familiar when it comes to winning the East, which they finally, once Gary Bettman established in the 93-94 season, his actual first full year in the NHL as commissioner. He came in 1993, beginning of 1993, but 93-94 was his first full season, as a matter of fact, from start to finish.
Wow.
Where he broke it down in the East and Western Conference playoffs. And a lot of things that's been getting brought up was the Prince of Wales Trophy, which usually gets more to the Eastern Conference winner that goes on to represent in the Stanley Cup Finals. And one of the biggest things right there I heard over the years, and I'm sure you can tell us a little bit more about this, Paul, like the Prince of Wales Trophy. A lot of people just don't like touching that trophy in general. I guess it's supposed to be like a little bit of bad luck or something. I think even for like the Clarence Campbell Trophy, which gets awarded to the Western Conference winners who goes represent the Stanley Cup Finals.
Well, I think hockey, more so than any other sport, has its, not saying, and
it's more of its folklore,
superstitions, and
I can believe
kind
that.
of like little idiosyncrasies, and more. Not saying other sports don't have, people don't like have superstitions and stuff that they do, like game habits and stuff, but it seems hockey more so than any other sport where it happens like
that's a little kabuki-ish at times.
Yeah, exactly. A little stuff gets taboo or so, just whatever. It's just people are superstitious. A lot of the players are superstitious. Everything from how their gear is to like. Well, you see this word right in locker rooms where the logo. Don't step on the logo that's on the floor, which it begs the question, why is it on the floor? But anyway. Having said that, what's some of the things? Yeah, another thing you said was neither side touches the trophy, which still goes on. But sometimes they don't. Like your Pittsburgh Penguins, right? Sidney Crosby picked up he's like, screw that, and he picked up the trophy, and they won. Did they win the cup after one of the? I know what they did after one of them, didn't he?
I know they were in with Sidney Crosby. They were 3 out of 4, and the only time they lost was the first time around against the 2007-2008 Red Wings, which by the way were the President's Trophy winner. I mean, we could also make an argument too. Pretty much whoever wins the President's Trophy nowadays is almost pretty much like cursed, like almost to like win. I mean, like a lot of teams fail to deliver. I mean, you have once again as evident of Tampa Bay Lightning, who's actually owning, as it seemed, like the Blue Jackets in Game 1, 3-0 commanding lead. You think like, all right, it's gonna be the real deal. They're gonna like take care of them, take care of these chumps. But then again, what happens? They end up doing the reverse and sweep them methodically. They go as far as to the second round where they get upended by the Boston Bruins a couple weeks ago, as a matter of fact. And look at where they're at right now. And as you look at both sides right now, as we're looking. in these conference playoffs right now, you got the Boston Bruins right now. They are in there for right now the third time in the last decade, if you really think about it. Since 2010-2011 season year at the Blackhawks winning it, they upset the Vancouver Canucks on the road in Vancouver in 7 games.
Yeah.
And you really think about it at that point in time, I mean, look at it. And the last time they were there, they lost to the Chicago Blackhawks in 6 games.
That's right.
So their last 6 cup finals, they are 1-5 as a matter of fact. But I mean, if you really think about it too, I mean, prior to that, I mean, at that time, 4 of those losses were to Canadian teams, all Canadians. So the Montreal Canadiens in back-to-back years in the 1977 and 1978 Stanley Cup finals. Then, of course, you fast forward about 10 years later to the Oilers. And then once again, 2 years later to the Oilers. So one way to end the drought, you beat a Canadian team against the Vancouver Canucks. But then when it comes back to domestic against the U.S. team like the Chicago Blackhawks, which, by the way, who are the President Trophy winner.
That's right.
You end up winning it in 6 games. I got to say, from my memory, when I look back at this one, I will always go on record saying, out of all the opponents the Chicago Blackhawks met in the Stanley Cup finals, I really believe that Bruins one was like the toughest one to date. They really had to work and grind out. They really had to duke out like every game, every score. In my opinion, I felt that was like the toughest of their 3 that they won.
Oh, it was. Hands down. And I think I agree with you. Toughest opponent, I think it was the best series, just as far as action. Both, truly 2 of the best teams in the NHL at that time. It was a great 17 seconds. Remember that infamous 17 seconds?
When they were down like about like 3-0, I think it was.
You're thinking you're about to go back to Chicago, and the next thing you know, bam, they're taking out the Stanley Cup, which is unbelievable. And speaking,
I think I was referring to the first game, by the way. There was also one, I think they were like down by 2-3 goals, and they were able to manage to tie it.
Oh yeah, it was crazy in that series. It was the back and forth of this,
and the long overtimes, by the way.
And all you said it. They played, I think, an extra game in overtimes from all the different times they went over.
Speaking about overtimes, by the way, and if I'm not mistaken, if I got this number correct or incorrectly, but I remember the Montreal Canadiens in the 1992-1993 Stanley Cup playoffs, which, by the way, beat the LA Kings along the way in 5 games in that series. I think they had like about 9 or 10 straight overtimes in a row.
I think you're right. My memory's not as good as yours when it comes to that stuff, but I think they even had a triple overtime game in that series with the Blackhawks and the Bruins, and speaking of this Bruins team, a lot of those guys that were on that team are still on the team. Right, they're only missing a few.
Are you talking about like guys like Brad Marchand, David Pastrnak, David Krejci?
Krejci was on that team.
How about Patrice Bergeron?
Bergeron, Marchand.
Yeah.
Terry Krug was on that team. Rask was on that team.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of those guys are still here. A lot of huge contributors on there. They're great stars still. So I like Boston. I depending on who comes out of the West. Right now, I mean, Boston looks pretty strong to me.
I mean, they definitely do. I mean, when you look at their roster right now, obviously, of course, right now, I mean, you got Brad Marchand, who's actually leading the pack with 18 points right now, plus minus of 15. You can also make the argument too that David Krejci right now, too, who's got like the 3rd most points on the game, was plus minus is like around 23.
Yeah.
So right there, you see what he's doing right now.
Krejci. I think you said Krejci before, but Krejci.
Excuse me. Thank you very much.
Another guy was there. David Backes, from the Blues, who's there now, was the captain. He was the captain in St. Louis, and now he's on this Boston team. So
are you going to buy or sell that they're going to end up capturing their 7th cup, which will break a tie with the Chicago Blackhawks right now, who's actually also got 6, by the way?
Yeah.
They're gonna go 1-up on the Hawks.
Right now, I think I would favor them for sure, just because of all those players I just mentioned, the pedigree they got, and they've won. Some of those guys have won on that. They were on that 2011 Stanley Cup winning team, which, by the way, was Timmy Thomas. I think was the MVP of that series. And it was, to me, a lot of those guys are still on that team, and you got that veteran savviness and. Depending on who comes out, either way, either team, either St. Louis or San Jose, I think Boston, you would have to favor them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And then also as we look at to the other side of things too, because remember, by the way, too, the Boston Bruins, I mean, when they won their cups in 70 and 72, they beat the St. Louis Blues, which was one of their last appearances right now. And speaking of which, they are tied right now, believe it or not, with the San Jose Sharks right now. You could also make the argument too. They've also been a hot team ever since, I want to say, since that Game 7 when they had that nasty hit on that one player by the Golden Knights.
Yeah.
3-0 right there. 5-minute major. They've snapped off and were able to beat them in overtime and stop them. But I mean, you also look at guys like right here from both sides of the teams right here. I mean, you look at Logan Couture right now. I mean, they're able to win the Stanley Cup playoffs right now. You probably have to make an argument. He's probably like your Conn Smythe Trophy winner if they're able to go on and win this thing. I mean, at this point in time, he's got 20 points and 14 goals. I mean, pretty much leads. I mean, the remaining teams in the playoffs right now with the most goals being scored. But then you also look at the other side too, like St. Louis Blues, who are trying to avoid, if they go to the Stanley Cup Finals, they're trying to avoid going to 0-4, trying to win their first one, which they never won. They're in their 51st season. 52, but minus one season for the shutdown, so it's really 51 seasons. I mean, you got one of the big stories of the league of the year right now, and Joel Thornton, which, by the way, and now let's get ready to get into our segment. We're going to go into it right now. Fair or foul right now.
Nice.
And what do you think about Joe Thornton right now? Originally drafted by the Boston Bruins in 1997, with 22 years pretty much total, pretty much similar to Ray Bourque, who started off with the Bruins, went off to another team, the Avalanche, finally got to host the Cup 18 years ago. Fair or foul, they snap out of it, they get their first Cup win. I mean, you're pretty much going with the Bruins. I'm guessing you're going to look at me and say foul on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to, well, I mean, yeah, I'm going to say foul. I think, well, just because, just like you said, I think the Bruins are the stronger team. But could they? Yeah, absolutely. Would it shock me? And you said Joe Thornton's been, I'm impressed how he's been in San Jose. He lost his captaincy. He got basically demoted, and he's still with the team. He's been there for how many years now. And I say foul. I think whoever comes out of the West is going to be the underdog in the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, and I definitely have to probably look at that myself and take a look at it. But I'm gonna say for right now, I'm gonna say foul for right now. I just think the Boston Bruins right now, they are just too good right now. They're just really feeling some momentum. By the way, when you really look at the way things are rolling with them, and also let's get into another one or two as we wrap up here. Also, too. Fair or foul right now? There's been a report. I mean, the New York Jets situation, Jets, Jets.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Oh, I don't know, but right now it's going through some pain. As right now, one of your guys of the New York Jets, as we take a look at everything over here, when you look at it, and one of the biggest guys that's been dismissed was Mike McCagnon, which, by the way, who made some unpopular decisions with the team, with the Jets, that did not sit well with Adam Gase, and it just seems like he's not too fond of like signing a guy for like Le'Veon Bell, who's finally looking to get like his money, his guarantees.
Yeah.
4-year, I think $52.5 million deal. He's gonna be making about $13.125 million per year. Not too fond of it right now, and seems like seeing a little mixed message of a guy like a star talent who's been out a year for a league. Fair or foul that they look at bringing a guy like Peyton Manning to a front office role? His name seems to be popping up. Fair or foul, Paul?
Foul. I mean, I just listen. I love Peyton Manning. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. But just because you're a great player doesn't mean you're a great executive or a great coach and seldom do you see that. So I mean, I'm sure we can come up with a list where there's maybe a couple of guys, but I think I have a phrase or a saying, I guess you could say, there are great coaches and there are great players, never both. And I think you can say this, same for executives. Not saying players don't become great executives, but they're not considered. Those certain players aren't considered the all-time greats. So I'm going to say foul.
I'm going to say fair only because he's got one thing to prove, and that's be an executive role in this. And I'm real quick to look for his career. He's declined a couple of broadcast opportunities, and that's going to have to unfortunately do it for a close to the show on deck right here. But I'm going to just throw one last thing I'm going to put out there. Fair foul. The Bucks beat the Warriors. They were me in the fouls. I'm going to say fair, and that's more like it's about the service Kevin Durant.
Fair. I'm going to say fair as well.
All right. Well, thank you much for tuning in to On Deck every Saturday, and make sure to check us out from 1 to 2 p.m. on CSR. For Charles, Pauly C, On Deck, thank you everybody tuning in to CSR.
And the live stream? And the live stream?
Yeah, you can end it. Thank you.
Dude, I was looking for your catchphrase.
I know, I'm just
don't
imagining.
be trolling, be rolling.
Just my timing, that's all.
I was looking for it. All right, I stopped it for you. All right, well, they're not coming.
Where's the overnight elements at?
What's up?
Overnight elements.
There isn't one. Just go to games.
Games, I gotcha.
Yeah.
There's nothing in games.
No. What?
There's nothing in the games folder. Talking about this folder right here.
Yeah.
Right? There's nothing in there. It's blank.
What the fuck? What do you go to the commercials then? What the fuck happened?
Unless we want to play this right here. That's the only thing I can do is select a couple of games to see in the highlight.
Playing. Wow.
Welcome back to
You may want to ask Joe about that, or I could reach out to him later myself. Just